This is the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, a round table of folks for this live show on YouTube, got Adam Emmert, DCH, and Clinton Bonner. Gentlemen, we had a round of divisional games, and I think we're going to get into some of the biggest mistakes and blunders that we saw over the weekend. But for me, just to get it out of the way, NFL scriptwriters putting two NFC West teams into the championship, that's the biggest mistake for me.
Yeah, it should just be titled at this point, Satan's Championship.
Oh man, it was tough to watch. I wanted so badly for the opposite of things to happen so much this weekend. Besides Cincinnati, I was all in the Joey B train, but the other three out of the four, boy oh boy, was I left just very disappointed, like actually emotionally pissed off that these things transpired. So I'm with
literally every team that I rooted for lost this weekend. So because I was on the opposite side of the Bengals, but I'm rooting for Joey in this next round too. And gosh, well, I'm leaving my options open. I will have no hatred toward the AFC team because I am counting on either one of those teams to win the Super Bowl at this point.
Yeah, it was. I think there were two or three in the Ring of Honor who mentioned this as well, but I think we got every single pick this weekend wrong in the pick'em the pick'em spots, and that just goes to show. I think most of us are probably we all have the same rooting interests. It was a super disappointing weekend. The thing that I think pissed me off the most, though, guys, is it was actually a really great weekend of games. Like the games themselves, if you just didn't care and didn't have any rooting interest at all, some of those games were really interesting to watch and had some pretty spectacular endings.
The games are really good, except for the outcomes.
Yeah, exactly right. And all of the outcomes were the wrong outcomes. So awesome week of shitty games. Great.
Yeah. And I got to give Joe Fan some love because I think everybody remembers Mr. Joe when he was covering the Seahawks before he went over to, he does the Bet to Win podcast now. So he's kind of into the gambling side of it now. And I saw like 3 days ago, he's like, oh man, do I love the Road Warriors package here, where he took the road team and like +6 teased all 4 games +6. And I was like, I like that. And I'm not quite as bold as Joe. So I teased mine to +9. But I had a nice 4-game teaser where I had like Bills +10.5, Niners +14.5, Rams +12.5, and Cincy +whatever.5. And so that was nice. So at least I got the emotional and the financial benefit of hitting Joe Fan's Road Warrior teaser. So that was cool. But dudes, yeah, man, I've got a couple of. So I selected 4 particular things that I was like, maybe we should talk about. What do we think is the most egregious of the 4? So do you guys want to go through what I thought were some terrible, terrible mistakes? Like Doug, you said it, dude, really cool, fun, entertaining games. But I don't know if that was a lot of good football. I'm not sure that was actually like great. People like, that's the best game I've ever seen. I'm like, maybe if you like watching Madden 52-50, that's a great football game. But how about defense, or how about playing all three parts of a game, including special teams? Like, does that stuff count when you try to go judge football? So before we even get to the egregiousness of these mistakes, the games are entertaining, but any takes on the actual quality of the football that we saw?
Well, I think you nailed it in terms of the atrocity that we saw in certain moments of certain games, whether it's the Packers and their special teams unit, whether it's the Bills defense with 13 seconds to go. Yeah, those are moments of terrible football, but we also saw one of the best quarterback duels with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes that we'll see. I mean, I don't think you're going to get, at this point, the quality of quarterback play, there will be no, Mahomes and Burrow could rally that, but you're not getting a quarterback out of the NFC that are of the caliber of any of the ones that were in the, it's more like how Tannehill in his 3 interception game went. And that's kind of what you can expect from certainly Jimmy G for any game. And then sometimes Matt Stafford.
All very true, Brandon. So Clinton kind of brought up the idea of, okay, which of the ones are the worst, right? Which was the most atrocious of the losses? So we've got the non-special teams play out of Green Bay, not blitzing a corner against Cooper Kupp at the end of the game. 13 seconds left in the Chiefs game, and then obviously Tannehill's 3 picks. So I rank these in my mind in the order of what was the dumbest freaking loss out of all of these. And if I'm thinking about those, I put the Titans at the bottom because Tannehill's Tannehill, and that's something that's going to happen in big championship or playoff games. Him throwing a couple picks, and really all they had to do was not turn the ball over. They win that game, but Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill. So, okay, that's not dumb. That's actually kind of true to form. The next,
not that bad. I don't have those expectations for Tannehill the way I do Jimmy G.
Right. So then the next least dumb loss out of those for me is the Bills giving up a field goal with 13 seconds left. And the reason I say that is at that point in the game, both of those defenses were completely gassed, like just done. So I don't care if they had a blitz to play prevent, had, just ran all their DBs back to the field goal line, where the field goal kicker was good from. Like, they weren't stopping anything. So it's just whoever happened to have the ball with even 3 seconds left was probably going to win that game. There was just nothing to be done. The defenses were just out of gas. So
before we get to the next tier there, I do want to poke at this one with you guys and ask too. For me, it wasn't just about they played prevent on the play to Hill, which got him to like the 50 or whatever. And then they get Kelsey open and then it's a field goal. Fine. And I agree they were gassed. That part I'm with you 100%. But what about the fact that they don't squib the freaking kickoff? They take 0 seconds from 13 seconds, not a second ticked off, but all they got to do is squib the ball and try to get to the 5-yard line. And you know what happens then too? Like, you get the ball in dude's hands. He's probably going to try and go play hero ball. And start to get upfield, toss it backward, do a little Music City Miracle type thing. And you might end up with like a tackle at the 40-yard line with no time left. They didn't even give that a chance. So like on the stupid factor, man, I don't know how you don't burn some clock with the kickoff. So is that part of, does that change your opinion there? Or for Brandon or DCH, is that part of what you guys were thinking already?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, Clinton. I totally get what Adam's saying in terms of the gassed defenses. And so the bigger blunder for me, you're going to expect that the defense is not going to be able to hold. The bigger blunder for me is you've got to put your defense in at least a position where they've got, 7 or 8 seconds to run off this clock rather than the 13. And the fact that they couldn't figure out how to do that for their defense and give them an opportunity here was probably the bigger blunder. I'd probably escalate them up the list a little bit for that.
What about you there, Brandon?
So how about not waiting until the final play of regulation for the Bills to throw that touchdown pass? Because the way Josh Allen was playing, he was playing so well that you could have probably milked the clock down to the final play and just have him decide that, I'm going to wait and throw the touchdown with 4 seconds left on the clock, and then it's ball game. I'm
more frustrated with the Chiefs. Well, to get back to your squib thing, though, real quick, Clinton, color me stupid because I didn't think about that at all. And that's actually a really great strategy that I would have totally missed if I was the head coach, and I'd be lying if I said otherwise.
At that point, though, with 13 seconds left, I thought this game's over anyway. Just
me too.
Get out of bounds, and what are they going to do?
I'm more to Romo's credit. He was calling. I'm sitting there tweeting away. I'm like, how do they not kill at least a few seconds? So I was. From Jump Street, I'm like, this might come back to bite him in the ass, which is crazy. So, but go ahead, man. So you were going to continue, Adam.
Oh, well, when it comes to the Bills, I'm more mad. I think it was the previous score that they gave up the 68-yarder to Tyreek Hill. Like, Romo sitting there talking about, they're double teaming him. And then he shows the safety that's his double team. And he's 45 yards away from Tyreek Hill? That's not a double team. All he was doing was standing out there and picking his nose. If you're going to double team him, maybe actually double team him. I don't know. But that was frustrating. Now, the second to last, or the second worst of the boneheaded plays, to me, it has to be the special teams debacle for the Packers. I don't understand how you can't figure out special teams throughout an entire season. I mean, Simmons talked about it on his podcast. Their DVOA for special teams was like historically terrible.
Yeah.
And so that was frustrating because the Niners had zero business winning that game. Zero. They had -7 yards after the first quarter of offense. That's a joke. But by far and away, the worst is throwing a corner blitz off.
He'll be back. He'll be back, folks.
I wasn't sure if he was frozen for you or not.
Yeah, he's frozen in time. That's okay. I think we knew where he was going, though. So, Brandon, you want to pick it up while we're waiting for him?
Okay, he's back.
He's back. So, Adam, you got frozen when you
All
said
right, I don't know where he lost me.
the worst.
By far, number one. Go.
By far, number one, sending a corner blitz off of Cooper Kupp and leaving him, open in any degree. Like, that's just bonehead mistakes. That I don't know how you let that happen, Todd Bowles. It's so dumb. But the worst part of it is I came back from the sawmill and caught Brady leading him down to tie the game, like 2 or 3 plays before Fournette scored, right? And right about then, my pizza was done from across the street. They score. It's tied up. I'm like, sweet. I'm going to get the pizza. I'm coming back and watching overtime. And when I got back into the room, there's Matt Stafford on the fucking screen talking about how they just were able to win and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what happened? Like, I don't understand. It's just dumb. And it's the most annoying of all of them. Out of the most annoying weekend of football I have seen in my life.
So, hey, Brandon, real quick, do you have the same, house of stupid and dumb as Adam does?
I think part of Adam's frustration there goes along with wanting to watch overtime and the pizza and all that stuff. That a lot of the personal situations.
Yeah, screwed up my plan. It screwed up my plan. It affected me personally.
I don't know if I could put it I would probably flip-flop the two, because the worst to me was special teams with the Packers, because yes, all you have to do, kick that field goal at the end of the first half, and then not have a punt blocked late in the game for the touchdown, and the Niners aren't winning that game. They just aren't. And so you gave 10 points to your opponent just on special teams, and just unnecessarily. So for me, that was by far the number one. It was a 10-point swing just based on having inept special teams.
It did seem to me too, like, wouldn't you do some other things to potentially get the blocking better? Like whatever you got to do, it's like they're getting blown up right through the middle with the 2 blocks. So isn't there something you could configure to put a stop to that if you're Green Bay? I mean, evidently not.
It's not like we witnessed any kind of great special teams from the 49ers perspective when the Seahawks played them twice. We scored the touchdown on the fake punt. No,
they were average at best when it came to that, like kind of lackluster with special teams. We were a much better special teams unit. That part, and plus I think people forget because it started so early. The Packers got the ball and scored. It was 7-0 within like 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there going, all right, Rodgers is on, they're pounding the ball. Like Devontae Adams, I had like 17 catches the first friggin' drive. I thought, this is going to be, it was funny. People were commenting it on Twitter that FanDuel was asking people to cash out. Like, oh, they're offering to cash out. Like you could get, whatever, get half your money if you bet the Packers. And the joke was on them, I guess. But that to me, probably the most egregious loss was the Packers losing at home because the Niners really just couldn't do anything offensively. But I think I think the Bills is still like my number one. Like you cannot blow that game. You got to burn clock. But maybe the most individually dumb call, I think I'm with Adam in that one. Like the most egregious one dumb play is blitzing the guy, covering Cooper Kupp. And then your safety, he didn't look like he was prepared to run with Kupp downfield. Like he turns really late. I mean, obviously we all saw how that ended, but what did he think was going to happen? It's like, it's a quarterback blitz. You probably got to know that you're going to be responsible for Kupp over the top. So it was a blunder across the board, man. It was very head shaking. And like you said, you get back with your pizza and you got to watch, Matt freaking Stafford sit there and talk about how they won the game, which is frustrating because Adam, beginning of the year, you were one of the only people that were like, listen, the Stafford quarterback change is a much bigger deal than people want to admit. And damn it, you were right, dude.
No, do not give that to him because it made no difference. They could have had Jared Goff back behind them and still won these games. Matt Stafford was in no position except for.
I don't think so.
Now, okay, I did.
God, I'm so proud. A button just about popped off my chest.
Just, I did text Adam
it's just
and
hard
say that
being
I might have
basically
to take
a clairvoyant of football. I mean, it's a burden, but I'm here for you guys, and I appreciate you recognizing my Miss Cleo NFL moment there, Clinton. Thank you.
No problem. I mean, you're the sayer of suits. How about you, DCH? Did you what did you have a number one? So we got some similarities, but we got some differences too. What was the worst of the worst for you?
Well, I'm probably in agreement with that last one. I'll say, well, I mean, it was straight out of the Pete Carroll playbook, not to cover Cup on one of the most important plays of the game running down the stretch. So, but one of the things that I recalled from earlier in the week, and I can't remember who it was, maybe somebody on NFL podcast was saying that this was the perfect game for the Niners to be running into Green Bay. And, their take on it was literally that Green Bay could not or wasn't going to be able to match up with the toughness and physicality that the Niners were currently bringing to football. And I was like, it's not exactly what I saw in that game. Like, I didn't necessarily walk away from that game going, wow, they lost because the Niners were just so much tougher than they were. But I'm not necessarily, I guess I'm not necessarily in agreement that the basically special teams was the biggest blunder because it's been there all season. Basically, well, to go back to what we were saying earlier in the week or early in the hour about some of the defenses, what did we expect? I mean, I don't think anyone here would have expected that if it came down to special teams that Green Bay would win the game, right? Yeah. I mean, we've seen Green Bay play pretty poor special teams all year long, and yes, it's atrocious that they couldn't have fixed it. They had a whole season to try to fix it. It's a third of the football game that they've got to pay attention to, but they didn't, and they hadn't up through the first 18 weeks of the season. And so, what did we expect? So that to me isn't like the biggest blunder. It's just one of the expectations. So I think not covering Cup is probably the largest faux pas for me. And again, it just probably stings a little bit more because we know exactly how to do that.
So I have a question for Clinton and Brandon.
Sure.
So how much responsibility do you think Aaron Rodgers should take for that loss? And how much do you think how much of his feet are actually being held to the fire? Because it seems like he's getting a pass for scoring nothing. He scored 20 points in every one of his playoff games in his career up until this one.
Yeah, he shouldn't get a pass on it because I think he's showing himself now to kind of be a little bit of a choker when it comes to the playoffs. Because what has he done since, I mean, gosh, so many times, and having home field advantage and getting out to the early score. I'd have a hard time pinpointing like which moments where you could point to the choke in this game against the Niners, but just kind of overall, like, how do you not at least put up a few more scores on the board? Now, part of that is the special teams. He did drive them down to put them in field goal range at the end of the half, and what that 3 points would have meant toward the game. But to lay an egg like he did in the second half too, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm on the board of he's got to own all of it, and I think in due time, I think it's already that game got eclipsed by the next game, essentially, in the cycle, so it just kind of got buried. But I think in due time, it's the choke words out there, and he just hasn't been the man in the biggest situations is what it boils down to. And whether you like his off-field stuff or not, I know it's very bipolar, and some people like it and many don't. It doesn't help that if you're out there talking about other things than football and then you underperform in the biggest games, you look stupid is what it boils down to. You look like you're not focused. And there was that play late where he tries that shot deep into like double coverage, which was like, that was the thing too. Like down the stretch, it became like hero ball. And he was not all of a sudden, not even all of a sudden, just like after the first or second quarter, he was not taking what was there, which we've been screaming about for years now with like, dude, Russ, take the underneath stuff. It's friggin' there. So that second to last on that last drive where they go 3 and out and have to punt it away, that second down, he takes like a deep shot, like 45 yards down, like a post, completely double covered. And if you go back and watch, I don't know who it is. It's Devontae Adams is over the middle, about 25 yards downfield, wide open.
Oh, just Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in the league.
In stride, wide open, and he's playing hero ball. So he should wear all that. I got 2 very good buddies. So I have a great text thread with a diehard Bills fan from Long Island. Diehard. The dude's so bang. His name's Louis.
I feel
Piazza.
So bad for Bills fans.
Louis, he had a rough day. He called out of work. And then Johnny Parmesan, a big cheesehead himself, and a buddy named Chappie. They're both Packers fans. All year long, they're like, yeah, this is gonna be great when Crosby misses a field goal and we lose, like all year long. So to your point, Doug, completely expected. And then like feet to the fire type stuff, Adam. Both those dudes were like, yeah, like Rodgers has got to own this. Like, and they're legit Pack fan, been so for 30 years, and they know football, and they're like, no, Rodgers did not play well, period. And now he's probably gone too, which is going to be super interesting. But I don't know about you guys. I like the idea that Russ is kind of like second, third, fourth fiddle when it comes to which QB carousel might happen, and Rodgers could take all that BS spotlight, which kind of makes me happy.
Oh, for sure. I don't know that Russ is on the carousel at all, except for in the media's mind, but that's fine. Yeah, I wanted to get a little to the next question. I know you wanted to get to, Clinton, with your name on the screen here. OT rules are fine. Well, number one, 100% agree. And also, I want to give a giant do better to Jim Nance, who started the conversation about the OT rules before they were even done with the broadcast. Like, he threw that out there. He might as well have just taken a gallon of gasoline and thrown it on that fire.
Yeah. So we got Camden commenting here live. Coin flip for OT decided that game. No, it didn't. Yeah, you know why? Because when the coin flip is over, they still played football. And the stuff that happened before it got to overtime caused overtime. So no, it didn't. Bad defense down the stretch ultimately, caused OT. And then, there was a coin toss, but you can still go play defense. And I don't, the stats are the stats. Like, since they changed the OT rules, like 53% of the coin toss winners win the game, but they're like, but it's 10-1 in the playoffs. I get that. That'll come back, that law of averages, that will come back down over time. That's a really small sample size. And B, you have the best quarterbacks playing in the playoffs. So you're going to get that outcome more often. But universally, what in life is more freaking fair than a coin toss? It is literally 50-50. So, come up with more convoluted rules to, like, let's do field goals with flag football to win the game. It's just stupid. And the reason I could say all this too is I didn't hear one Buffalo Bills fan bitch about this. Not one. Yeah. They didn't care that the OT blew it for them. Everybody else is imposing this on their fandom. And they're like, yeah, great. Why do we play prevent defense and let Tyreek Hill just run wide open with some time left? So, so Bills fans are owning up to the fact that it was them. So for me, it's just like, it's like, shut up about changing OT rules and play some defense, play a little bit of freaking defense.
Yeah, I'm glad that we saved this, though, because it is the most unfortunate thing. And I said this to you yesterday, Adam, was that.
Yes. And with that said, I wanted to give you credit for that. You are Brandadamus. But the second that happened, the first thing you sent me was, and here we go. We're going to have this conversation all off season. And you're 100%
we're talking about this instead of an amazing weekend of football. And so I'm glad we talked about some of the amazing football first, and not just a rule it probably doesn't need to be changed. But okay, you brought up Joe Fan earlier, Clinton. I'll bring up his point here. You're telling me the NFL has a rule on the books that kept two amazing quarterbacks from both seeing the field in overtime. Like, how can that be?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, maybe. I don't think the rule kept them from the rule
Exactly.
didn't keep Josh Allen from having a shot. The fact that the Buffalo Bills could not get a stop prevented it, because that's what it is. So it's,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
that's not the coin flip. It's not fate or the lack thereof fate. It's they didn't stop them, and that's not a rule.
Okay,
That's
now give me an
defense.
argument other than defense matters as to why.
What other argument is there? That is why do I have to defend a third of the game? Like one of the most important they're
So
all
you can't do
important.
it.
We saw
You
this
can't do
weekend.
it. You can't come up with any other argument other than defense matters.
Because it's 100% correct. So you lose the coin toss. Well, boo freaking who? Go out and play half of the game. Go out there and be a defense.
Well, I think we also discussed that part of this had to do with how that special teams was handled at the end of regulation in this game.
Absolutely.
And I think we could also point to the run game. Who was the Bills' number one rushing attack?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Yeah. That's a problem. I mean, it's awesome for him. He's a super glitch in the system, but that's a problem for the Bills when it comes to playoff football, right? I would also point that same direction. We haven't talked about this game a lot, but I would also point that same direction for the Titans. Boy, does Derrick Henry just look like a shell of himself? Like he couldn't figure out how to get past the line of scrimmage. I get it. He's injured, but I get all the circumstances. But again, it's not about him necessarily. It's about they're relying on a superstar running back to help them win a game, and he cannot do it, and hence they're out of the playoffs now.
All right, Colin, well, before we get on out of here, I know you had one final take on Tom Brady, because the big question is that the last that we're going to see of Tom Brady on an NFL football field, whether it's for the Bucs or another team, but is that the last of him?
Yeah. So Adam's giving away the ghost in a good way. I don't think so, but I also think that this entire story, my hot take on Brady, is that this whole story is planted, because they leak it out before the game, full well knowing this is not last year's Bucs team, and there's a chance they lose to the Rams. Like that's, it's a coin toss game, comes down to a last second field goal. That's what Vegas thought it was, and lo and behold, there we go, right? So they leak a little story out there, and you got who was calling the game? Was that Romo and Nance doing the doing the Bucs game? Or was that Michaels? I forget who was doing it yesterday, but whatever it was. And they're talking about it. Is this Brady's last? Could this be Brady's last? And then after, it's all about his potential retirement cycle. And my flat take is this is leaked on purpose, and it is done to gain empathy and gain some sympathy and gain MVP votes. That this was a tactic to be like, put it out there and be like, hey, this might be Tom's last ride. All right, shucks, didn't go the right way, but he played well. He tied it up, and let's get the MVP votes, suctioned away from Rodgers and over to Brady. I think it's 100% a little bit of bait they put out there to do so. So no, I don't think he's retiring. B, I think it was a very smart tactic. I think he will siphon MVP votes because of this leak. That's my Brady hot take. What do you dudes think?
Oh, I'm with you 100%. Tom's going to be back. Look, and I can tell you why. Because he's said how many years ago that he's going to be back. He's always said, I'm going to play until I'm 45. And he's what? 44. That means he's coming back for one more. Tom Brady, whatever you think of him, and I know a lot of people have an irrational hate for him, Dave Bloomquist, but with that said, he's a man of his word. He's going to be back for one more year. He didn't go out injured. He didn't go out playing poorly, anything like that. He just ended up with a team that was banged up around him. He's not going out like that. Not in a million years.
Well, one question for the group. Is there a possibility? Could you see Tom Brady ending his career as a 49er?
Ooh, I could see it. If he leaves the Bucs this offseason and he has that opportunity to do 1 year, obviously the Niners aren't sold with Trey Lance. It's not like Jimmy G is going to win the Super Bowl. He's going to go to the Super Bowl because the 49ers own the Rams, but he's not going to win the Super Bowl. So Yeah, I could see that happening, that they kick him to the curb even after a Super Bowl appearance. And then you got Tom Brady to mentor Trey Lance for one more year. And he rides out in style that way.
Well, we've been saying suits the whole time. So that's a little Mama Cleo on my way, but go ahead, get Doug.
What do you think the upside is for Brady?
One more really good shot with a great defense, or very good defense that could run the ball.
Because what's better than winning another Super Bowl with another team when you do it with 3 teams?
You just, go. He's a California kid. He's born in California, correct?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
he was a big Niners fan growing up. I'll tell you why I can't see it, Clinton. Why I can't see him with the 49ers, because it would make my eyeballs bleed and I couldn't see through the blood. Right? Like, I just no. Please no. For the love of God, no. I got to watch Satan's Championship next weekend. I don't need this too coming up.
And you know what? I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Oh.